Welcome to today's webinar, Deep Dive on Amazon QuickSight Business Analytics for Everyone. Our presenters today are Guy Farber and with a demo presented by Louis Wang. Today with us we also have several moderators who will be engaging with you and answering your questions throughout the presentation while Guy and Louis present. Guy and Louis, welcome. The floor is now yours.
Thank you. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar today, especially since some of you may be on vacation, so we really appreciate that. My name is Guy Farber. I'm a business development manager responsible for business intelligence, business analytics at Amazon. And with me, I have Louis Wang, Quentin Ellsbury, Joe John, and Satish Kumar. They're from our product management and marketing teams. Louis will deliver an extensive demo midway through the session, so please make an effort to survive my slides so you can get to the good stuff. The rest of the team will take Q&A using the chat function, so you can fire away and ask them questions. This is our first webinar since we launched QuickSight, so today we're going to focus on some of the fundamentals. As I said, we're going to back them up with some hands-on demos, and you can expect future webinars to focus on security, different data sources, and different ways of ingesting and preparing the data. So today we're going to start with an overview of what QuickSight is. We're then going to talk about what are the key steps you need to take to sign up and create your first analysis. So I'll walk you through the main concepts, and then Louis is going to show you how that's done in a demo. We'll then spend some time on how QuickSight integrates nicely with different Amazon data services. Then I'm going to walk you through our very simple and economical pricing model, and then we're going to conclude and take some live Q&A with whatever time we have left. So I'm going to start with some background on why we built QuickSight. AWS has tens of thousands of big data customers, and they've been providing us with a lot of valuable feedback over the past few years. And they told us that they're struggling with the explosion and variety of data and data sources that they would like to analyze and bring valuable insights from into their business. And these include big data analytic tools like Hive and Spark, relational and non-relational databases that could both be on-prem or on AWS. And then finally, people are using more and more web applications such as Salesforce.com and would like to be able to analyze the data that's sitting there. And the other challenge they've been running into with traditional BI tools is that they weren't designed for the cloud. They rely on client-server architectures or hybrid architectures that are adapted from the data center world, and they're very expensive to procure and operate, as well as they're very complex to manage and to scale. And finally, these tools require a steep learning curve, and those factors really limit how broadly business analytics can benefit an organization. So QuickSight, on the other hand, was built from the ground up as a cloud-native application. It's delivered in a software as a service model, so it's very easy to deploy. You no longer have to worry about patching or upgrading the software, maintaining and scaling infrastructure, or architecting for high availability and backup. We take care of all of these non-differentiated heavy lifting for you. On the user side, QuickSight doesn't require a client or configuration of drivers. You simply fire off a browser or any of our native mobile applications and log in, and then you instantly have access to powerful insights. QuickSight delivers a simple and intuitive user experience that lets you build visualizations in minutes and then easily and securely share them with your team. So this stage, QuickSight is focused on business users rather than on the data professional. It's optimized for business professionals who want to easily and quickly run ad hoc data exploration without relying on IT, and for data consumers who need simple access to reports and dashboards. As we iterate and add additional functionality, we'll also be able to address the requirements of data scientists and sophisticated analysts. So let's review the basics here. QuickSight allows you to either leverage a built-in user directory we deploy into your AWS account and then invite users to join via email, or to invite existing IAM users. IAM is AWS's identity management service. This is included in what we call the standard edition, and I'm going to talk about the editions a little bit more soon. Another option is with our Enterprise Edition, you can connect to your Active Directory servers and manage QuickSight access to existing users and groups. This can simplify user management and provide stronger security. Something important to keep in mind as you're planning user access is that QuickSight is currently independently managed in each AWS account. So let me walk you through the basic concepts, and then I'll give you a little bit of detail on each one. When you want to start building your analyses and analyze your data, you start with the data source. This is where your data currently reside, like a database, flat files, or sitting on S3. You choose and you log into your data sources, and then out of them, you select tables. You can optionally apply data preparation, and then you create what we call a data set. A data set is a data structure that is then ready to be analyzed. Out of a data set, you can create one or multiple analyses. Analyses are basically a canvas that includes one or many visualizations and tables, like pivot tables. Once you're done analyzing the data and displaying it in the most optimal way, you can then share it. You can share it as a dashboard, as an analysis, or as a story, and I'll explain what the difference between all of these mechanisms are in a few minutes here. So I'm just going to sort of give you some detail on the different steps through the workflow. So let's start with data sources. What are our options here? QuickSight is deeply integrated with AWS data sources, but we also support third-party data sources, and you're going to see us expand on that very quickly over the next few months. So what you'll see first in Lewis's demo is that QuickSight auto-detects Amazon relational database service instances and Redshift clusters within the same AWS account. That makes it really easy for an admin or a power user to find them and quickly log in and create QuickSight data sources out of them. So let's talk about, sort of break down all the different data sources that we support. We support RDS, Relational Database Service, currently with SQL Server, MySQL, and PostgreSQL database engines, as well as our own Aurora, and we're hoping to add Oracle support pretty soon here. We support Amazon S3, allowing you to visualize files directly from object storage, and we recently added Amazon Athena, our clusterless query service, so you can visualize SQL queries on semi-structured data. We also currently have our first web application connector with Salesforce, enabling you to directly pull and visualize data from Sales Cloud without having to first export it into a database or into S3. We plan to support several more popular web applications over the coming months, so stay tuned. We also support all of the third-party databases I listed under RDS as they are running on EC2 or in your own data center. So you can run SQL Server, MySQL, or Postgres in your own data center or running on EC2 and still visualize it with QuickSight. Here again, we expect to add additional popular database engines over the next few months. Finally, many customers told us that due to the cost and complexity of BI tools, most of their users are leveraging spreadsheets for business analytics, but that QuickSight's compelling price and ease of use can finally help them deploy a sophisticated BI tool broadly. So we added Microsoft Excel support to let you easily import existing spreadsheets into the user interface. Now Spice, and as the name implies, QuickSight is very quick. And what makes it quick is Spice. Spice stands for Super Fast In-Memory Calculation Engine. It's an in-memory columnar data store that's optimized for analytical queries and can perform calculations or aggregations on the fly. It sits between the user and the data source and both relieves pressure from the data sources as well as speeds up performance for demanding and impatient business users like me. It was built specifically for QuickSight, and like the rest of the service, it's fully managed, so you don't need to worry about scalability or high availability. After you connect to a data source, you want to create data sets out of it. You do that by selecting a table in our data prep function. And there, first off, you can see that on the slide, you'll see a nice preview of your data. And then You can do simple tasks like rename, remove fields, change data types, create new calculated fields with some text and string manipulation functions. You can filter some of the rows. So, if you have time series data and you have a table containing a year's worth of data, you just want to visualize the last week, you can do that easily. You can choose whether you want to issue a direct query at the data source or ingest it into Spice first. And you can also visually join tables from the same relational databases. Finally, if there's SQL functionality that is not existing in the data prep, we allow you to write your own SQL query and push it down into the underlying data source, and the resultant table will become the data set. So once you created the data set, you can share it with other users, and you and them can then start visualizing the data. As you'll see in the demo, you don't need to install or configure any software. You just simply log in, start selecting fields, and our autograph feature will automatically select the most suitable graph for you. You can also open this on the go with any iOS device, and very soon here you'll be able to do this on Android as well. After you create an analysis, so you kind of created a few visuals and you set it up the way you wanted to, you can collaborate and share with others. There are 3 ways you can do this. And sharing it as an analysis means that everybody you share this with, usually a small group, will be able to collaborate and basically read and write from the same canvas. So this is more of a collaboration feature. Dashboards is more of a one-to-many consumption mechanism. You can create a dashboard where it's mostly read-only, it's more constrained than to be consumed by a large number of users. They'll still be able to explore it a little bit and filter the data, but they can't make any changes to it. And then finally, storyboards allow you to tell a story with your data by allowing you to take a sequence of visuals or dashboards and present it one after the other, sort of like a dynamic slide deck that is pulling data in real time and presenting it as a story. So let me, just before I let Louis show you the demo, I'm going to walk you through a few data sources use cases to give you some good ideas here and how they integrate with QuickSight. So let's start with Amazon Redshift. Redshift is Amazon's fast, fully managed petabyte scale data warehouse service. QuickSight starts by auto-detecting all the Redshift clusters in the same AWS account, and once you very easily log into them, you can set them up as a data source, and then you can decide for each data set whether you want to directly query it or you want to bring it into Spice first. If you use Spice, queries into that data set will not hit Redshift, but will instead be served directly from memory, from the in-memory Spice layer. Spice can then sync with Redshift on a scheduled basis or manually to make sure you always have an updated view of your business. Let's move on to RDS, Relational Database Service. This is a service that allows our customers to have a managed third-party databases like Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, and Postgres. Many customers like to run some reports and dashboards against operational databases, but they're concerned about the risk of adversely affecting production workload performance. Spice can help you here by syncing manually or on a schedule with the RDS instances and fulfilling all the BI queries coming from QuickSight directly from Spice. Think of this as a high-performance data mart. This is obviously not going to replace your data warehouse, but it can allow you to query operational databases pretty easily when needed. And then Amazon S3 and Athena. They both are very unique to QuickSight. With S3, you can take any supported file format and specify multiple files by using a manifest file or using a prefix, which is the S3 terminology for a folder. And as long as all the files have the same schema, QuickSight will be able to read and materialize them in Spice as a table, which you can then visualize. This allows you to really simplify things. The true power of this is that since you now don't have to go through the intermediate step of loading the data into a database before running your analysis, you're analyzing it directly from flat files sitting on S3. Athena gives you even more flexibility. With Athena, you can define schema on read and run SQL queries against files sitting on S3. But then with our native QuickSight connector, you can select a table from Athena and visualize it. And it gives you a complete end-to-end serverless solution. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to Louis, who's going to show us how all of this works in the UI.
Thanks, Guy. Hi, everyone. My name is Louis. I'm the Principal Product Manager of Amazon QuickSight. In this demo, I'm going to walk you through various aspects of the service, including setting up for QuickSight. I noticed that many of you are new to QuickSight, so I think this will be a good opportunity to walk you through that part of the process. I will talk a little bit about Enterprise Edition and integrating QuickSight with on-prem Active Directory, as well as run through an end-to-end scenario of creating analysis, visualizing your data, analyzing, and then sharing with others. And finally, how QuickSight connect to various data sources. From the poll, it looks like there's a lot of interest in learning more about how QuickSight supports S3, Athena, Redshift, RDS, so we're going to speak to that a little bit also today in the demo. To start, I'm going to click on the Try for Free button on QuickSight website. So QuickSight has a free tier that you can just sign up for and play around with. To sign up for QuickSight, however, you'll need a valid AWS account. And if you already have one, you can just log in directly. And if you don't, you can register for a new one as well. If you typically use IAM user to log into AWS, you'll see that the login screen will be slightly different than what you're seeing right now on the screen. And then, as with using any AWS services, you need to make sure that your IAM user has the necessary IAM permissions to be able to sign up for QuickSight. And this is all captured in our documentation online. Finally, if you use federated logins to AWS, you'll see, please note that QuickSight currently doesn't support IAM roles login, so you'll have to either use a root user to log in or an IAM user to log in and sign up for QuickSight. So let me go ahead and log in right now with an existing AWS account. When you sign up for QuickSight, you'll see the option to choose between Standard and Enterprise Edition. With Standard, you get all of the analytical functionalities, spice capacity, and mobile access that Guy has talked about. The key difference between Standard and Enterprise is the ability to connect QuickSight to your on-prem Active Directory or Cloud Directory. And AD Connector is something that we've launched in the last 30 days or so. So I'm going to give you a quick tour of setting up AD with QuickSight. So in this case, I'm going to select Enterprise Edition, and I'm going to click on Continue. The first thing that you need to do is to select a directory in the AWS Directory Service. So you can either use an AWS Directory Service, Microsoft AD, to host a standalone directory, or you can establish a trust with your on-prem directory. In this case, I'm going to choose one of the directories in this AWS account, and I'm going to authorize it. This directory has a trust established with an on-prem directory. And by authorizing, it basically means that you allow QuickSight to list the users and groups and so on within the directory. Next, you'll select the admin and user groups that will map to the admin and user roles in QuickSight. The key difference between an admin and user role in QuickSight is that an admin can purchase annual subscriptions and can add additional spice capacity, whereas a user can connect to data, import data, analyze, create analysis and dashboards, and share them, and so on. So please note the difference between admin and user groups. So here I'm going to just add a single group and associate that with our admin role, and I'm going to add another group and associate that with the user role. Of course, you can add multiple admin groups and user groups if you want. And then next, you'll have the option to allow QuickSight to access your data in the same AWS account. So you can grant QuickSight the ability to auto-discover your data in Redshift, in RDS, as well as access your data in S3 and Athena. So I'm just going to leave this checked by default. And once you're done configuring your Active Directory details, you can just click on Finish to complete the setup process. So I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to also walk you through what does the sign-up experience look like for the Standard Edition. So with the Standard Edition, I'm going to click on the Standard Edition here, click Continue. And the first thing in Standard Edition that you need to provide is an account name. So this can be a team name or the name of your company. In this case, one thing to note is that the account name is global. It needs to be globally unique. So in this case, I can give something like QuickSight webinar demo. And then a notification email address where all the emails, service emails from QuickSight will be sent. And then you choose a capacity region. So this is the region where all of your SPICE capacity will be allocated whenever you invite and add a new user to QuickSight. And I'm going to leave this as Northern Virginia by default. And then I'm also going to grant QuickSight access to all of my AWS data sources so that QuickSight can auto-discover them. And once you're done, you can click on Finish. Oops. So, or I can click on Finish, and it will complete the account registration process. So now, let's switch gear a little bit. I'm going to switch to an existing QuickSight account that already has a bunch of data that I have loaded in. So this is the home page of QuickSight, and is a starting point for you to access all of your analysis and dashboards or create a new one. The way you think about an analysis is like an exploration of your data. And here you can see all of your analysis, including a screenshot thumbnail of what is included within the analysis. And you can also access all of your dashboards from the same page here on the different tab. Let me click into one of the dashboards and show you what a dashboard in QuickSight entails. So this is a dashboard in QuickSight. It includes various visualizations. It is a consumption-only experience that you can share with others in your organization or in your team. One thing to note is that dashboard and QuickSight are completely interactive. So you can hover over the data point to look at how the different values compare. You can scroll through time to look at how trend changes over time. And you can also do additional sort of interactions with the visual. For example, in this case, I'm looking at total year-to-date sales by the different regions. If I wanted to learn more about how my customers' segmentation looked like within the U.S., I can click on the U.S. slice, and I can click on drill down to segment, which will now give me a breakdown of the customer segmentation. Similarly, you can also do that with dates by default. So if I hover over the year 2016, I can drill down to month and look at month-to-month revenue changes over time. So QuickSight's dashboard allows you to easily consume high-level metrics at a glance while providing a very interactive and visual experience to consumption of data. And we also support more traditional tabular-based reporting, such as pivot table, for example, so you can really dive into details if you need it. So dashboards are typically really good at sharing information and consuming information of things that are known in advance. But whenever you want to analyze a piece of data that is not captured in the dashboard, that's where QuickSight's value proposition comes in. It allows business users to be able to easily perform self-service ad hoc analysis on their data without having to require dependent on BI engineers or data analysts to do those work. So let me go back to the QuickSight homepage, and I'm going to walk you through the scenario of creating an analysis from scratch from within QuickSight. So I'm going to click on the New Analysis button in the top left corner. So this is the page where we'll list all the data sources that QuickSight supports. I'm going to start by walking you through a rundown of creating a new analysis from scratch based on the file upload. And then I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more about a couple of the various other data sources that QuickSight support in more in depth. So I can click on the file upload, And QuickSight supports various file formats like CSV, TSV, and Excel. In this case, I'm going to choose a sales metric file. So right now it is uploading. And once it's done uploading, it'll give me a quick preview of what's contained within the file. And here I can either go to prepared data, or I can go next visualize this data. So let me quickly go into the prepared data to show you what QuickSight has done at this point. QuickSight identified all the fields that are within the file and did a type inference to determine what are the dates, what are the categorical fields, and what are the numerical fields in the data set. And it identified decimals versus integers and so on. So this all looks good. Now I can go ahead and visualize this data. This is the main screen where you'll do most of your analysis and spend most of your time in QuickSight. On the right here, you'll see a status screen that shows you, the status of import of this data set into our Spice engine. So now you see that the import has completed, 100% successful, 35,000 rows imported, and no skip rows. So that's good. I can go ahead and close this notification box. This is the main canvas where the visualizations are generated. And on the left, you see all of the data fields that are available in this data set. On the top, you'll see all of the dimensional fields, and on the bottom, the metrics. And then further down the bottom, you'll see all of the various graph types that we support, and many of them are coming, new graph types are coming in the next few months. So by default, QuickSight provides a feature called Autograph, which allows users to simply select fields regardless of their dimensions and measures, and QuickSight will automatically generate the most fit visualization to represent that data. So let me give you an example here. Say I click on customer segment. QuickSight automatically generates a bar graph, a simple bar graph that does a count of records by the various customer segments. And the user does not need to know, what is the dimension, what is the measure, which data well do I drop the field in, none of that. And then if the user wants to know the revenue across this customer segment, they can click on the bill amount, and automatically we will use the bill amount as the metric to report instead of count. So now you can see the revenue breakdown across different customer segments. In this case, you'll see that the small SMB segment is lagging behind enterprise and unicorns, and you might be wondering why. So let's look into a little bit more. Let's look at how this revenue changes over time. All you need to do is select the timestamp field. All right, let me try that again. And now QuickSight will generate a line graph, because the line graph is the most ideal visualization to represent time series data. Now, if you're the business owner of this business, you want to understand how can you increase the revenue of the SMB segment, you want to be able to dive a little bit deeper into this. So in QuickSight, you can add multiple visualizations within analysis by clicking on this Add button at the top. I can add visual. So now you get started with another new visual you can play with. In this case, I'm going to click on Customer Segment. And instead of bill amount, I wanted to look at how many customers are within this segment. So now this visualization gives you a completely different picture, whereas the previous one showed you that small businesses are typically are lagging behind the other two categories. Here you see that we have the most number of small business compared to enterprise and unicorn. So what that tells you may be that, hey, the average selling price for small businesses is an area that can be improved upon. So with this insight in mind, you may want to be able to share this with your colleagues so that we can do some marketing promotions or pricing related activities to increase the ASP. And with that, you can use QuickSight built-in layout capability to resize visualizations and build a dashboard layout that is optimized for consumption and that you can share it with others. So in this case, I've organized the visualization, the two side by side, and then I can share this by clicking on the Share Analysis button. Here I can enter the name of the user that I want to share it to. myself, and then click share. And then the user that you share with will receive an email with a link to the analysis that you've shared. You can also share a dashboard in this case by creating a dashboard. And by creating a dashboard, what you're actually doing is creating a read-only consumption view of the data to your end users. They won't be able to modify it, and they will be able to interact with the data, but the model itself is intact when you go back to work on the analysis. So I can create a new dashboard and give it a name called Customer Segment Analysis. Create a dashboard. And now you have created a view-only dashboard, and then you can also share that with other users. So that gives you an overview of creating a new analysis, leveraging Autograph, as well as sharing a visualization and a dashboard to other users. Now let's go a little bit deeper into some of the other capabilities of QuickSight. Specifically, I want to take this time to introduce with you some of the integrations that we have made to various AWS data sources. As Guy have presented earlier, QuickSight supports Amazon S3, Athena, RDS, Redshift. One of the areas that QuickSight differentiates is that if you're signing up for QuickSight using an AWS account that already has data in those AWS data sources, QuickSight will automatically auto-discover them and facilitate you to connect to them. So what do I mean by that? Let me just quickly show you. When you click on the Redshift connector, there's a bunch of fields that you need to complete. On the instance ID selection, you'll see that QuickSight has automatically discovered all of the clusters that exist within this account. So in my case, I can select production data warehouse cluster. All I need to do is give it a user, provide my username and password. So in this case, QuickSight demo. I'll enter my password, and then I'll give this data source a name. I'm just going to put test cluster connection. And then I'm going to create a data source. You see, I didn't need to provide connection stream, port number, database. QuickSight does all of that automatically for me. And then now I can select the schema that is within my cluster as well as a table. A couple of things to know about connecting to Redshift that I want to make sure I take the time to cover here is let's quickly switch to the AWS console. So now I'm back at the AWS console, and let me go to the Redshift console here for a minute. In order for QuickSight to be able to connect to your Redshift cluster, you need to make sure of a couple things. First of all, that your cluster has the publicly accessible flag enabled, and you can find that here in the Redshift console in the details of your cluster. So make sure that this publicly accessible flag is enabled as yes. And if you scroll down further, make sure that there is actually, in fact, a public IP address assigned to your Redshift cluster. And finally, in order for QuickSight to be able to talk to your cluster, your cluster's firewall/security group needs to have QuickSight IP address range whitelisted. So the best practice is you don't want to enable your clusters to 0/0 enable for all internet to access, but you want only enable it to specific endpoints. And in this case, you want to make sure that you enable it for QuickSight endpoints. So to do that, select the VPC security group that is associated with your cluster. They'll take you to the EC2 management console where you'll be able to look at what are all of the firewall rules that have been set for this cluster. So I'm going to switch to the inbound tab for this security group, and here you'll see that my cluster already has a QuickSight IP address range enabled. So we're good to go, and I was able to connect to it. So QuickSight at the moment has 3 IP blocks, each referring to a region that QuickSight is present in. So one is for Northern Virginia, one is for Oregon, and one is for our Ireland data center. Depending on which of these you need to use. You can either enable all or you can enable select ones as well. So switching back to the QuickSight UI, make sure that your Redshift cluster or your RDS instance, for that matter, are whitelisted to allow QuickSight to access the connections. So now I'm going to close this. I want to talk a little bit about S3 because I see that has been an area of interest to a lot of you guys. So there's two ways that you can use QuickSight to analyze your data in S3, as Guy has pointed out. One is to connect directly to S3 and pull in whatever file or files that you want to access directly into Spice for analysis. And then two is to query the data in S3 via Athena. So let me talk a little bit about the first scenario, and then I'm going to move to the Athena use case. To connect to Amazon S3, all you need to do in QuickSight is provide a data source name, so test, and then you either provide the URL of the file path where the file is located in S3, or you upload a QuickSight a manifest. So in this case, I'm going to upload a manifest. I'm going to quickly show you also what the manifest includes. So I'm going to select the manifest, and I'm going to switch to actually show you what the manifest file includes here. So it's a very simple manifest that has a reference to a single file, you'll see here. But you can actually point to multiple files if you want QuickSight to pull in multiple files. If they make up part of an overall data set, you can reference multiple files as well. Or you can also reference an S3 prefix. And if you reference an S3 prefix, QuickSight will actually pull in all of the files that matches that S3 prefix into it. And in addition to the URI prefix references, there's also a section in the manifest file that is about the setting of the files in QuickSight, such as whether it is formatted as a CSV, what the delimiter is, does it contain headers, and so on. So pretty straightforward. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to connect to it. So now QuickSight is establishing connection to S3. It is pulling the data from S3, and then it has come back. And I can now visualize it or preview the data in data prep. So let me go ahead and preview the data in data prep. So because this is a CSV file, there is really no schema associated with the file. And what QuickSight does is, as it streams the data from S3 into QuickSight, it goes through our data pipeline that will automatically assign type inference to all of the data that we encounter. So in this case, it was able to correctly identify this as a timestamp, these as categorical fields, decimal, strings, numbers, and so on. And then you can analyze it. One of the things that you can do also in data prep is create calculated fields if you wanted to apply additional transformation to your data post-ingestion. So you can click on the new field button here, and we support a number of functions that are available, including conditional statements such as if-else, date formatting options, string formatting options, and so on, and string manipulation options as well. So a quick example here, just to show you how this works, is you can add this field into the formula and just add one to it and then create. So now QuickSight is applying the transformation to your data, and you'll be able to see the new field in your data set that you can then import and visualize. The other thing that you can do is also apply filters in data prep. So if you're connecting to RDS, Redshift, or even S3, and you don't want to import the entirety of the data set, but you only want to import a subset of it, whether it is filtered by date or by a specific category, you can also create a new filter here. In this case, let's create a filter based on timestamp. I'm just going to change this to after. I can choose a particular date here after January 1st, 2016, apply, and then the filter will be applied as well. So, and then you can save and visualize that. Now, what QuickSight is doing is basically actually pulling the entirety of the data from S3 into QuickSight based on the data transformation logic that you have applied in data prep. So you can see the rows being updated as we speak. So the S3 connector is really helpful when you have a number of simple files stored in S3 that you want to analyze, and you can, in fact, bring the entirety of that data into SPICE for analysis. The other way to access your data in S3 is via Athena. So Athena is a completely elastic serverless query engine that can query data directly on S3. So the way that Athena works with QuickSight is you can connect QuickSight to Athena, and then you can choose to either extract the result set of Athena queries and store it into SPICE, or you can also direct query, leverage the Athena's query engine to generate the visualizations directly. So before we connect to Athena, I want to just quickly switch. Let's switch to the Athena console. So here, let me go to Athena. So we're now in the Athena console, and please note that these are, you can completely replicate all of these things that I do very, very easily. By default, there's already an ELB log. That is a sample data set for all users. So if you log into Athena getting started, you'll see the ELB log as an existing data set. I've created a flights data set within Athena that is in the format of a Parquet stored in S3. And the way you do that is, by default, go to the Saved Queries tab, and here, just in the order, execute the top 3 queries in reverse order. So first of all, create table with the partition of the flight data, then load the flight table partition, and then finally, fire off a sample query. So in my case, what I'm going to show you right now is firing a very, very simple SQL query in Athena to generate the top 10 airports with the most number of departures, right? So it's a very simple query. You see there's a select from this table where year is greater than 2000, group by origin, order by total departure. So very simple query. Let's run it in Athena. It'll take a few seconds. So now Athena has returned to you the result. Runtime, roughly 6 seconds, data scan, 40 megabytes, and it gives you a tabular view of the top airports in this flight data set, with Atlanta being the #1, and so on. So what I'm going to show you is replicating this exact query in QuickSight without actually writing any SQL queries, and also by connecting to Athena. So let me switch back to QuickSight. I'm creating a new Athena data source. I'm going to give it a name, Athena connection. Just going to validate the connection, making sure that I can connect to it. So great. Now I'm going to create a data source. And here I can choose the database that I want to connect to. So I know that my flight table is in the sample DB database. I can connect. Now I can select the flights Parquet, which is the same table as the one in Athena you see right here. I'm going to select that table, and I'm going to just go ahead and directly visualize it. So as you can see, there are 2 options here, import to SPICE or directly visualize. I'm just going to directly visualize it for now, and then I'm going to click visualize. So notice that there is no importing messaging from QuickSight in this case, because all the interactions that you do within QuickSight now gets converted into query that gets issued by Athena directly. So in order to replicate this query, which is getting the top 10 airports by origin, right? I can find the origin field here in a very long list of data fields, or I can also just search for it. So let me type origin. There we go. So I'm going to click on origin, and let's see what QuickSight gives me. So right now, QuickSight has translated that action into a SQL query, sent it to Athena, and Athena basically scanned the data in S3 to generate the result set, which then gets passed back to QuickSight. So there you go. It's the same exact query as the one that's issued in Athena console. And now you are able to visualize it easily within QuickSight without actually having to write any SQL queries at all. And you can also do more complex analysis with this as well by overlaying different types of data. So going back again to the QuickSight homepage, one final thing that I wanted to quickly show you is, as Guy pointed out, we are very, very focused on enabling the end business user use case. And one thing that we do know is that business users have lots and lots of Excel files. So QuickSight supports Excel files natively. You can also use the upload a file functionality, and then in this case, I can select the Excel file in the XLSX format, open it. This particular file only has one sheet in the workbook, but if there are multiple, you can select various different sheets within it. And just to give you a preview of what this file contains, very simple sales units and pricing data for various categories. You can say visualize. Again, QuickSight is importing the data into a Spice engine, and it should be done really quickly. There we go. Now that it's complete, I can select region and units to look at all of the units moved across various regions. I can look at a breakdown of that by the various items that are sold, and you get a cluster bar graph. You can manually select various types of bar chart and graph type. For example, if you want to look at this as a stacked graph, you can also do that. Or if you want to look at this as a pivot table, you can also do that. So that is pretty much it from a demo perspective. Guy, back to you.
Thank you, Louis. Thanks for the excellent demo. Before we conclude and move on to the Q&A section with whatever time we have left, give me a second here to sort out the slides. Looks like I have a minor technical issue. Thank you. So this is the minor detail of pricing that I want to discuss with you. It's available publicly on our website, but I want to walk you through the different options to kind of clarify things. So we have two feature sets that we call editions, and one is called standard, and the other one is called enterprise. With each one of the editions, you can commit to using QuickSight on a per user basis, either month to month, if say you want to just test it out, or you have seasonal use, or you can commit annually. And annually is still a lot shorter than you normally commit to any traditional business intelligence tool. So if you commit annually, you get a little bit of a discount, and you can see with standard that it's $9 per user per month, so per subscription per month. With the annual commitment, and with the month-to-month, it's going to be $12. Enterprise Edition today, in addition to the core capabilities, adds Active Directory authentication and data encryption at rest, but there's going to be a lot of enterprise features that we're going to be adding over time only to the Enterprise Edition. And because of that, the Enterprise Edition costs exactly twice as much as standard at $18 and $24 per user per month. Now, with each one of these users, we give you, or subscriptions, we give you 10 gigabytes of Spice capacity included. This is net capacity, net protected capacity. And it's pooled across all the users in the AWS account. So if you have 10 users or so, you'll have 100 gigabytes total available to all the users. if you run out of spice capacity, if you find spice very useful, you can buy from the user interface as an administrator additional spice on a per gig per month basis. So with standard, it's going to be 25 cents per gig per month, and with enterprise, it's going to be 38 cents. In addition to that, if you just want to test this out, we have a free tier. You can kind of see that on the column on the left, where we give you one user perpetually for free, and that user has a gigabyte of spice. So per AWS account, you have that user for free. If you want to add more spice capacity, you can buy more from the UI, and then it'll cost you 25 cents per gig per month. Finally, if you want to conduct a larger evaluation, that individual, that free tier, can invite 4 more users, which are going to be free for a period of 2 months. At the end of the 2 months, if you don't unsubscribe, you'll become a paying user. So 1 perpetual free user and 4 users for free for 2 months, which is plenty of time to go and test this out. So just to kind of summarize, QuickSight provides a fast, easy to use, and cost-effective business analytical platform. It has seamless integration with AWS data services, and it's built for the cloud and designed to scale. This enables you to finally unleash business analytics broadly within your organization. So with that, I want to thank you for attending the webinar today. And as a follow-up, please go to our website at quicksite.aws to sign up for a free account and give QuickSight a test drive. And now let's do some live Q&A.
Great. Thanks a lot, Louis and Guy, for a great presentation. You'll now see a few poll questions appear on your screen. Please take a quick minute to provide us with some feedback. We do apologize in advance if we don't get to all of the questions that have been submitted. We have about 7 minutes left, so our moderators are going to continue answering, and Louis and Guy are going to take several questions live. Thank you.
So I have a few questions here around access to an API, cloud formation scripts, and so forth. So at this stage, QuickSight can only be used through the user interface, but adding an API into Spice and QuickSight is something that's in our plans for later this year. Yeah, so there's a question here. Can I use the individual charts in the dashboard for drill down? Yeah, absolutely. You can drill down to any specific visual in a dashboard. Another question, can I use DynamoDB as a data source? Not yet, but that's something that's in our plans. That's something that we're going to add. We aim to quickly add all of the AWS data services as data sources. There's a question around what are Spice limits for the number of rows or size from Redshift? So today we have a maximum Spice dataset size of 10 gigabytes, regardless of the underlying data sources. That applies across all of them. It's an artificial limit that we have as we're sort of evolving and benchmarking our platform that we're definitely planning to increase in the future. Louis, do we have any other limits besides maximum data size on like number of rows or columns with Redshift?
So the logical capacity limit is 10 gigabyte, and the actual number of rows will vary depending on the shape of the data itself, like how many columns it has, what kind of fields are representing the data. But generally with 10 gigabyte, you could go up to as high as 50 million to 100 million rows.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Can there be multiple database connections, tables from different database servers? Yeah, absolutely. You can do that. Yeah, there's a question around, can you white label QuickSight and provide some predefined templates to, let me expand the question, to the system's data and charge a markup for it like other AWS services? This is something that we're currently evaluating, the different ways we're going to allow you to white label the service.
So I see a couple of questions. Matt had a question around, is it possible to share dashboards with users outside of organization, and how does pricing work for that? Right now, sharing and all content are shared are secured within the AWS account that you work with. So you cannot share it with users outside of your organization unless you add them into that QuickSight account. And pricing is what Guy just mentioned before. It varies between standard and enterprise, and it's as low as $9 per user per month. Another question here is, how can I release a data set from Spice so that it does not reserve Spice memory if not needed anymore? That's a very good question, and there's two ways you can do that. If you don't need a data set within Spice anymore, you can delete the data set, which data set will go away, but that also breaks all of the reports and analysis that you've built on top of the data set. The other way is for data sources that support direct queries, SQL queries, such as Redshift, RDS, and Athena, you could actually switch from Spice to direct query so that all the analysis that you've built now will issue query directly against the source rather than store the data in Spice.
I have a quick question here. Can QuickSight access in-house RDBMSs, or does it have to be on the AWS cloud? So I think I mentioned before, you can run any of the supported third-party database engines either as part of RDS or running on EC2, or you can run it in your own data center as long as we have access to that. And today that includes Microsoft SQL Server, Postgres, as well as MySQL, and we have plans to add Oracle, as well as other third-party database data warehouse engines in the coming months. Another question here, do I need to do ETL before the data is imported into QuickSight? You know, that really depends. If we can transform the data to your requirements using data prep, then you don't. If data prep doesn't have the functions and capabilities that you need, then you'll have to do it prior to presenting the data to QuickSight. And, you know, like everything else we do, this is a software as a service product. It's very easy for us to add features and they just appear without you needing to upgrade the software or patch it. We plan to add a lot of capabilities to data preparation as well, based on the feedback that we get from customers. So please just send us your feedback. Anything else from your side, Louis?
No.
Another simple question, does data set mean data that is stored in Spice? Not necessarily. A data set is basically a table that has either been transformed by data prep or not, that you designate as a data set. And then you can share it or create analysis out of it. It does not have to be materialized. In Spice, it's an option that you have. There are some data sources like S3 where you have to materialize the data in Spice, either when you upload the file or you use S3, and then the answer would be yes to that question.
So I see a question, is QuickSight in production? Yes, so QuickSight is now generally available. It has been generally available since November of last year. So if you have not tried it already, you can go to quicksite.aws and sign up and start using it. And by default, all AWS customer gets a one free tier user with 1 gigabyte of Spice capacity. So you know, within that, you know, you don't need to pay anything extra. And in addition to that, you also, if you want to try it out in the team context, within the first 60 days, a 2-month billing period, you can also invite up to 4 additional users within your company for a total of 5 users and be able to use that. Each of the users get 10 gigabytes of Spice capacity as full capacity. So you get sort of a 2-month team trial period as well.
Yeah, one more question just to kind of clarify. Does QuickSight require a copy of our data to be copied into Spice? So the answer is no, except for S3 and uploading flat files. This has to be materialized in Spice before you can actually visualize it. But for all the relational data sources and for Athena, you can actually directly query the data source without copying the data into Spice. First, basically you can choose between the two models at that data set level. So one data set could work like this, the other one can work like that, and then Lois, I think, just discussed a few minutes ago that you can actually change that behavior. If you want to move a data set out of Spice, you can then reconfigure it for direct query access. So I think that's all I see pretty much for the questions I have. There's one more question. Will you be adding more graphs? Absolutely. You can expect us to add more and more visualization types and graphs over the next few months, and the entire evolution of the product based on the feedback that we get from customers. So the ones where we get the most requests, those are the ones we try to prioritize and add first.